talk this morning is based on a scripture that we're all familiar with. I think everyone knows it. It's in Genesis, the very first chapter, the 26th and the 27th verses. But only I translated it a little differently than Dr. Lamza does in his translation from Aramaic. I like to make it, I brought it more up to date. And God said, let us make humankind our image, our resemblance, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the winged creatures of the sky. So God, of course, he talked about creeping things and land beasts, but then he says, so God made humankind, male, female, made he them. And everyone looks at it as just, the creation story. But I wanted to go behind the scene in this, and this is what I'm titling my talk. There's several titles I can use for it. I would call it the humanization of spirit, or spirit humanizing. Spirit humanizing, or the humanization of spirit. That's what's behind it. In other words, spirit is humanizing itself. And that's the whole purpose of being here. People wonder, why am I here? You're here to be human. What? Yes, we're here to be human. This is what makes Jesus outstanding. When you read the Gospel of John, I'm going to tie, because it ties in with Genesis, the very first chapter of the Gospel of John. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God was that Word. That's a very flat translation. In the beginning doesn't belong as the first word, even though it's there in the sentence. It should read, the Word was in the beginning. The Word. And now let's take a look at that word, word. The word word, miltha in Aramaic, means mind energy. Mind energy. Because it takes the energy of the mind to utter, to speak. Speaking is a creative act also. Because with speaking, you create images. You create things when you speak. You also project emotion and spirit when you speak. There is a power in the word. There is authority in the word, and there is energy in the word. There's both in the word. And that's what that word miltha in Aramaic means. Logos in Greek. Everyone approaches John from Greek, but the Gospel of John is very Semitic, very Jewish, and using Aramaic Semitic terms. Logos does not express the full meaning that it does in Semitic languages. It is miltha. Miltha, that word, that mind energy that comes from your being in order to utter. We don't think anything about speaking because we're speaking all the time. But a baby tries to communicate with us even though it doesn't make sense. It tries to get through to us even though it's just jabbering. We call it jabbering because it hasn't learned our constructs. Every language is a construct of each person's soul, whether it's German, English, Italian, everything. It is constructed. So we try to make the baby hear the way we say things and do things so it can express its soul, so it can express itself from within. And this is what it means here. The spirit The story of creation is spirit humanizing. Our whole purpose of being here is to be totally, 100%, beautifully, wonderfully human. Yet when we use the term human, we often use it in negative connotations. The minute I make a mistake, what do I say? Right? Because we use the term human as a put down. But the problem is, it isn't until humanity totally humanizes, we will not have peace. We will not have joy, full joy, until all humanity humanizes. What makes me one with you? Not my belief systems. No. I'm talking about at root. What makes me one with you is my humanity. What makes you one with me? Our humanity. And what is in our humanity? When it says, and God said, let us make humankind, our image, our resemblance. What is God? When it says, and God said, it's just like in John 1:1, in the beginning, or the Word was in the beginning, and God was with, and the Word was with God. That word with, it's a problem translation from Aramaic. It's an L, a W-A-T-H. Lwath is how we say it. Lwath. And it means not just with, it means to be in the presence of, or before, or in association with. Toward. It means something toward. Toward God, meaning in association with God. And it's hard to translate that word to get the idea across into English. So the word was with God, and then it says, and God was that very word. God, Jesus gave us a definition of God. In the 4th chapter of the Gospel of John, Jesus says, Allaha Ruhau. Allaha Ruhau. We translate it as God is Spirit. Allaha Ruha is the word for spirit, but because the word is joins with the word spirit, we say Allaha Ruhau. Ruhau. How is. God, Spirit, is, literally is what it's, if you're reading it in the Aramaic. God is Spirit. So when it says, and God said, it means, and Spirit said, let us make humanity, or humankind, our image. In other words, Spirit has to be imaged. And how does Spirit become imaged? You're looking at it when you look in the mirror. Did you ever think of that? When you look in the mirror, you don't think, I'm looking at Spirit. Do you? Thank you, 3 honest souls. When you think of, how can I improve that image, is when we look. Look at that, only 2 honest souls over there. What can I do? And depending on the culture, it's depending on how you try to change your image. But the basic image is there. Humanity is there. So what is the image and likeness or resemblance? It means Spirit has to have an image, or you cannot feel it or touch it. Love is Spirit. Joy is Spirit. We call it emotion, but it is Spirit. Can you put your hands on love? You can't, but only an act of love. a demonstration of love, of kindness, of joy. What happens? The whole body, when joy comes in, the cells in the body go into spasms, healthy spasms, all through your body. That's why when the statement we made in the meditation this morning, all is good, even though bad things may be happening, all is good, because that is the spirit behind it. Even though things are going wrong, all is good. And the more you know that, the more the cells work with that, because that thought will transmute into energy in the body, and the cells in the body are happy. I mean, we don't think of, we think of ourselves, oh, it's just something floating around in here, It's in the, but it's directed. All the cells are directed. And by spirit. And it's the humanization is what we're after. We think of, oh, I've got to be more spiritual. No. What are the signs of being more spiritual? Greater humanity. Greater humanity. And what is a greater humanity? More kindness, expression of kindness, love, peace, joy, understanding, enlightenment. This is what it's all about. And we run from it. People think, well, if I could just get away, and just find that place, we run from our humanity. But it's in our humanity that we're only going to find peace. What makes us civilized? What makes us civilized is our humanity. We call it civilization. I'm not waiting for civilization. We got plenty of civilization, and we're still killing each other. Right? We've got these monuments in our cities, tall buildings. We've got all kinds of things. We've got all kinds of governments. We're civilized, and we're civilized, and we are civilized killing each other. We love the violence. The only thing that can quell, and as I like what the children have, they say crush fear, but it also crushes violence. Faith crushes violence. Humanity, love is what makes us lovable. What makes a baby so lovable? And I don't care what that baby does. Even if you're changing its diaper. Right? And while you're changing it, something may happen. Isn't that so? And what do? Oh, the little darling. Right? You can't help it because it's just a bundle of humanity. Right? But now we're going to teach it. And instead of really understanding humanity and humanizing, we began to fit them with our doctrines, notions, ideas, and they grow up. And then we begin to separate from one another. Well, I was brought up Italian style. So what? Or I was brought up in this style. I was brought up in the South and the North, right? When I was in the North, all I heard was about Southerners. And when I'm in the South, all I heard about was Northerners. All these things divide us. But our humanity is the same. Let me tell you, I don't care whether you're Chinese, Japanese, any form of Asian, any form of European, American, British, it makes no difference. When you boil us down, come on now, when you boil us down, what are we left with? what are we left with? We all want love. You don't want love? We all want love. We all want peace. We all want joy. We all want to get along. The only ones that don't want to get along is when a doctrine or a dogma has said you mustn't get along with that person. Because, why? Well, we'll get literature to back us up. We'll get psychology to back us up. We'll get religious beliefs to back us up. We'll get scriptures to back us up. It was the funniest thing this morning when Dr. Barber came into the office and sat down on the chair, and I opened up my Bible. I was looking for something, but it just opened, and it fell on the passage, "Women keep silent in the church." And I looked over at Dr. Barber. She wasn't silent. Right? But there it is in the Bible. And I do not suffer a woman to have authority over a man. You see, I should be the one here. Using scripture. But do you see what I mean? You can find scripture that will absolutely ruin your humanity. I've got to have a lecture in Ireland in September. And they want me to speak on atheism. So I wrote up something on atheism. So, it's atheism and spirituality. Are they compatible? I'll let you know after I do this talk. Once you understand that spirituality is what makes us human. Because the Spirit said, let us make humankind our image, our likeness. Do you get what I'm saying? It's the humanization of spirit that brings love, joy, peace, and understanding. Because these things are not just virtues. Love, peace, joy, kindness, harmony. Those are not virtues. We deem them as virtues. They are the image and likeness of God. That is what the image and likeness of God is. And it expresses as human. That's his purpose. I'm not to become spiritual. I am already a spiritual being. Didn't we just hear that this morning? Because God said, let us make humankind our image. That means Spirit wanted to be human. Another way to put it, God humanizes. Creation of humankind is God humanizing. All humanity is God humanizing. That's all it is. And that's why God said, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the winged creatures of the sky, and over the land beasts, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Because Spirit is above that, but Spirit has to humanize. What makes me want to be with you? What makes you want to be with the family? Isn't it because of the human love that is expressed? And the joy and the sorrows that are shared? It is the sharing of our humanity. And that's the trouble. When we don't share our humanity, but deem one portion of humanity greater than another portion of humanity, we've lost humanization. We've lost it. And our belief systems, whether it's religious, whether it's governmental, whatever it is, political, or whatever it is, this dehumanizes us. When we demonize anyone in humanity, we are dehumanizing. That's what we're doing. We're dehumanizing. And one faith puts down on another faith, we are dehumanizing. Because the soul is like a flower. It's like the flower family. You're going to have variety. You're going to have variety. You're going to have diversity, right? As much as I love a rose, what if everything was a rose? Stop and think about it. What if every single flower everywhere was a rose? How would you feel? Gypped. You would feel gypped, wouldn't you? And you know, although most people don't talk about it, but one of my favorite flowers are pansies. Because the pansy itself has such a variety of color. And they'll have different streaks of color in it. And it's that variety in it that I love. The same thing with humanity. And until we wake up, when I say we, I don't mean just us here. I mean all of humanity wakes up when the people in the East realize they need us. And we need them. And that Islam needs the Christians. And the Christians need Islam. In fact, there was a time when Islam did need Christians. When they first started out, and Muhammad had started it, and speaking, and formed a group, and no more idols. And they had to flee. They had to flee from their own hometown. What had to be done? They went to other nations that were Christian. And these Christian kings and rulers gave them sanctuary. And when the businessmen came from Mecca to put them to death, the Christian kings protected them. Most people don't know that. But Islam was protected by Christianity in the East. In the East. And these Christians, had they been following our gospels that we hear in the United States, we would have said all Islamic people are condemned to hell because they don't believe in Jesus, right? That is, they don't follow him, right? But they didn't have that doctrine in those days. In the 7th century in the Near East, they never heard. This doctrine that we're hearing about Jesus now, it's only about 200 to almost 300 years old. That's all. That's all. And yet when they teach you to think, this is the Bible, this is the gospel that was always preached. No, it wasn't. This is something that's only in the past couple of hundred years. And we made it to separate ourselves from one another. We even as Christians, we've separated ourselves from one another. We always say, "Are you saved, brother?" Right? Where's our humanity? Where's our oneness? I told you that time when I was in California, and I like to go into all the secondhand bookstores. I'm a bookworm. I'm always looking for old books, finding different things and searching things out. And I was on Hollywood Boulevard going to all the different bookstores and that kept old books. And on one side of the street were the Hare Krishnas, and the other side were the born-againers. And they all were singing and shouting, you know, the Hare Krishnas, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And over here were the others passing out tracts saying you need to be saved and you're on your way to hell. I thought, which one will I go? Either way, I'm going to get caught. Whether I go on this side, Hare Krishna, and they'll hand me something, or I go over here and get a tract on the judgment day on hell. So I decided, well, since most of the bookstores are here, I'm going to stay on this side of the street. So I stuck with the born-againers. And, of course, when I went through, they captured me. And they said, Jesus is coming, and handed me the tract. And I said, oh, I wish that blank he'd get here. When I said that, he dropped his tracts. I said, you know, what's taking him so long? Jesus isn't going to come back and straighten things out. We have to straighten things out because we're the ones that make the mess. And it's only as Spirit continues, thank you. It's only Spirit, as it humanizes in us, can we straighten out the mess. Right? Our hope is in our humanity. Real humanity. That's why, now this is the final thing. In John, when it says, the Word was in the beginning, and that Word was with or towards, an association with God, and God was that very Word. Then you drop down to the 14th verse, where it says, and the Word became flesh. And the Word became flesh, what we call the incarnation. But the incarnation is all humanity. God incarnates in all humanity, not just Jesus of Nazareth. You know, from that we got the doctrine called the incarnation. That's from Latin. Incarnation means to inflesh, to inflesh. Again, when they refer to human, in German they call it Fleisch. Flesh. And it means human. I would translate it, and the Word became human and lived among us. Lived among us. In other words, the Word, remember what did I say the Word was? Mind energy. Mind energy. That power, that energy in us, what becomes human. It's the Word humanized. It's the Word human. Of course, John is referring to Jesus of Nazareth. But in Genesis, the first chapter, 26 and 27 verses, God said, let us make humankind our image, our likeness. What is that? Spirit is saying, let us humanize. And don't worry about us. God wasn't speaking to anybody. Us is just the way they spoke in the ancient world. It means I have deliberated, and this is my deliberation. But we don't say my deliberation. In the ancient world, they used us because they always had, all the gods, when they got together, they deliberated. You know, like a jury. And that's why the us is used. It's called the plural of deliberation. God wasn't speaking to anybody. Now, people often ask me that. To whom was God speaking? We said, let us. He wasn't speaking to angels or anything like that because angels are God's Spirit. That's what angels are. And angels also means human beings. All right, I'm going to give you an example. Although I speak in tongues of angels and of men. Oh, don't you see there's a distinction there? Tongues of angels and of men. No, you don't understand it. To speak in tongues of angels mean, though I speak with a pious tongue. It's an Aramaic idiom. And just think what we've done with that verse. See what I mean, what we do with the Bible? Just like if I would have laid the law down for Dr. Barbara this morning when she came in. To talk in tongues of angels means I talk piously. Piously. Referring to spiritual things. What you're hearing this morning is a tongue of an angel. What you heard from the pulpit, from the young people, from Dr. Barbara, what you heard was tongues of angels. Because it had to do with our pious, had to do with living life. When you did the meditation, that meditation is a tongue of an angel. It's a tongue of an angel. It means it's speech that lifts us, that makes us more human, that humanizes us, that grants us peace, joy, and understanding. You see how simple it is? Oh, how we have complicated the Bible. And tongues of men means common language. So, in other words, I can translate it. Although I speak with a pious tongue or speak in a common language, and have not love in my heart, what am I? Notice he goes to the heart, and have not love in my heart, then I'm ding, 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 ding. Just a little cymbal, little tingle, that's all. Nothing. It's the love in the heart that is the humanity. It's the love in our heart, the joy in our heart, the peace in our heart, the understanding in our heart that makes me one with you and everyone. I don't care who they are, where they are. That's what's happening in the Near East now, in Libya and all these places. A government that does not recognize. You see, what happens to government is they become a big machine and they lose the humanity. Government loses humanity. I don't care where they are or what they are. They lose humanity, and they lose touch with humanity, and our own politicians lose touch with us. They get in a place of position and power, and they get drunk. They get absolutely drunk. They get drunk on power, and they lose the humanity that they're supposed to represent us, not themselves, not how to keep themselves in power. What keeps them in power is we're supposed to keep them in power, right? But we've lost our sense of understanding that. And so anything gets up in there, and it gets into a power. And let me tell you, power makes you drunk. I don't care whether you're a minister, whether you're a politician, or who. The minute you get into a high position, you can easily get drunk. And on a wine, the nations get drunk on wine. You know what kind of wine? It's called power. It's called control. Power and control. They get drunk on it. This is why it's easy to turn on a humanity and kill them. Talking about a government. It's easy to do that because they've got to maintain power. They've got to maintain it. I remember my saying, how you obtain is how you maintain. If you obtain by love, you maintain by love. If you obtain by peace, you maintain by peace. And that's what our humanity does. Our humanity is capable of that. That's what spirit humanizing does. When spirit humanizes, it is peaceful. It is loving. It is kind. It is joyful. It is abundant. It is harmony in expression. That's what we're after. The humanization of humankind. Not civilization. We've got lots of civilization, don't we? We think mechanisms and our inventions humanize us. No, they don't. They've poisoned us. Our air is poisoned. Our water is poisoned. Our ground is poisoned. Right? Our packaged foods are poisoned. Right? What has happened? It's because greed has taken over and we've lost touch with humanity. We've lost touch with one another. What we need to have in government is a human resources. I don't see any department of human resources. And even in our big businesses, they have what they call human resources. But what they mean is map out how we can get our product to these people. Real human resources is, how does this relate to you, what I'm doing as a human being? Is my product really relating to you as a human? Will it make you healthier, stronger, or will it just cash in? Do you understand what I'm saying? And in our government, we need a department of humanization. All governments need it. You see, that's what made Gandhi so powerful. That's what made Martin Luther King Jr. so powerful. That's why I call Martin Luther King Jr. a prophet. He was a prophet, but he had humanity at heart. He had human beings at heart. Not just you, but he had all of us at heart. Yes, because any time we put down on another human being, I don't care what it is, color, sex, what it is. And I'm so glad New York has finally voted in. Again, humanization. Humanization. And there's a reason. You know, we're the only ones, all the animal world does not fuss over each other. They don't. We say, oh, they kill and that. No, no, no. It's hunger that drives them to eat. Right? Not, they don't kill just to kill. We kill just to kill. We don't kill out of hunger. We kill out of wanting to accumulate. Wanting to bring in more, bring in more. And that's not it. The humanization is not it. And I'm so sorry when we say, oh, they're so animal. No, they're not animal. If they were animal, they wouldn't do that. Not animal. I call it subhuman. People behave subhumanly. Our violence is subhuman. Violence, why do we have violence? We have violence because it was meant to protect us. When something bad was supposed to happen, you have to move to protect yourself. But when you use violence to take down another person, then that's something else. You become subhuman. You've lost the real spirituality of it. You've lost the meaning of it. And so it's the humanization. I love that. And the Word became human. Why is it we love Jesus so much? And why is it he became God? You know, in the 2nd century, it's because we were able to touch. We woke up. Jesus was the forerunner. He was showing that all humanity is God humanizing. Spirit humanizing. That's what he was showing. That's what he was delivering. And you could touch it. In the epistle of 1 John, he says, we heard him, we saw him, we touched him. And that's what people are reaching out to today. Only it's not Jesus. It's one another. It's one another. The humanity in you reaches out to the humanity in me. And the humanity in me reaches out to the humanity in you. It wants love from you. Do you want love from me? Do you want kindness from me? Do you want peace from me? Right, because I want it from you too. And where is it? It's in our hearts. It's in our hearts. It's always there. It is God humanizing as you.